You do not need more time. You need fewer things competing for your attention. Read that again, because it can change how you see your day. You wake up with the same 24 hours as everyone else, yet some days end with real progress, while others leave you exhausted, surrounded by unfinished tasks. You answered messages, checked your phone, handled small problems, watched a few videos, moved between tasks, and still wondered where the day went. The uncomfortable truth is that time is not always your biggest problem. Your attention is. What would change if you stopped giving your best energy to everything that asked for it? What if you decided what truly matters before the day started? What if you learned to protect one important task from interruptions, unnecessary requests, and your own restless habits? This audiobook will show you how to do exactly that. You will learn how to choose better priorities, remove distractions, protect your focus, finish important work, say no without guilt, measure your attention, and stay committed when results take time. Your life can improve without adding another hour. It starts by becoming more selective about where your attention goes today. Chapter 1. Choose what deserves your attention today. Your day does not become better because you have more hours. Your day becomes better when you know what deserves your attention. A person can have 10 free hours and still make little progress because those hours are divided between too many things. The real problem is often not a lack of time, but a lack of clear choice about where attention should go. Most people start the day by reacting. They wake up and look at their phone. They answer messages. They check notifications. They open several tasks. They listen to other people's needs before deciding what matters to them. By the time they reach their important work, their mind already feels tired. This is not a time problem. It is an attention problem. Your first practical lesson is simple. Do not let other people decide what deserves your best attention before you have decided it yourself. Take a blank piece of paper at the start of your day. Write down everything that needs your attention. Do not organize it yet. Put down work tasks, family responsibilities, personal goals, small errands, messages, calls, things you have been delaying. Once everything is visible, you can make better decisions. A crowded mind often feels pressure because every unfinished task seems equally important. Writing them down reduces that confusion and gives you something concrete to examine. Now ask yourself, what would actually matter most by the end of today? Do not choose the task that feels easiest. Do not choose the task that gives you the fastest feeling of achievement. Choose the task that has the greatest useful effect on your life or your responsibilities. This distinction matters because easy work can make you feel productive without moving your important work forward. Answering 10 messages may feel satisfying. Completing the first serious hour of work on an important project may feel less exciting, yet the second action can change much more. There is another useful test you can use. Ask yourself, what will become harder tomorrow if you do not handle it today? This question helps you see importance more clearly. Some tasks carry consequences. A difficult conversation may prevent a larger problem. Studying for 1 hour may reduce pressure before an exam. Preparing an important report may protect your reputation at work. Exercising today may support your energy for tomorrow. The task does not have to feel urgent to be valuable. Your attention is limited during the day. This is why choosing matters. You cannot give deep attention to 10 important things at the same time. You may physically move between 10 tasks, but your mind has to keep changing direction. Each change requires effort. You read a message, then you return to your work. You check another notification, then you return again. You open a new tab, then you try to remember where you stopped. This repeated switching can leave you busy and mentally tired without producing much useful work. Try a simple experiment today. Choose one important task and work on it for 30 minutes without checking your phone. Keep only the materials needed for that task in front of you. Do not open unrelated websites. Do not answer non-urgent messages. Do not keep checking the clock every few minutes. Give the task one clean period of attention. After 30 minutes, write down what you completed. Then compare that result with a 30-minute period where you allowed interruptions. The difference will teach you more about focus than any motivational speech can teach you. A useful rule is to separate important work from maintenance work. Maintenance work keeps life moving. Important work helps life improve. Cleaning your inbox may be necessary. Paying a bill may be necessary. Responding to a routine message may be necessary. But learning a valuable skill, building a project, improving your health, preparing for a career change, or spending focused time with someone you love can have a deeper effect. You need both types of work. The mistake is allowing maintenance work to consume every hour available for improvement. This is where many people lose control of their day. They start with small tasks because small tasks are easy to finish. The inbox becomes empty. The desk becomes organized. Several messages are answered. A few minor errands disappear. Then the day is almost over. The person feels tired and says there was no time for the important work. There was time. The important work simply did not receive the first claim on attention. Give your most important task a protected place in your schedule. For many people, this will be early in the day because mental energy is often better before a long series of decisions and interruptions. But the exact hour is less important than the protection. You may have responsibilities that prevent morning focus. That is fine. Choose another period. The principle stays the same. Important work needs a specific place in your day rather than a vague promise that you will get to it later. You should also learn to recognize false urgency. Something can demand your attention without deserving it. A phone notification demands a response. That does not mean the response matters now. A new email arrives. That does not mean your current work should stop. Someone sends a message marked urgent. That does not automatically make it your highest priority. Train yourself to separate pressure from importance. This single skill can change the way you use your entire day. Here is a practical way to make that decision. Look at a request and ask 3 things. Does this need to be handled today? Does this need to be handled by me? Does this need to be handled right now? These questions create space between an event and your response. Many things will fail the third test. Some will fail the second. A few will fail the first. Once you learn this, you stop treating every request as an emergency. There is also an emotional reason people give attention to the wrong things. Important work often creates discomfort. You may fear doing it badly. You may not know where to begin. You may worry about what other people will think. A small task does not create the same pressure, so your mind naturally looks for something easier. You check messages because messages are clear. You clean something because cleaning has a visible finish. You organize files because organization feels controlled. This is why focus requires more than a schedule. It requires honesty about what you are avoiding. Notice what happens in your body when you approach important work. You may feel tension in your shoulders. You may feel restless. You may suddenly want coffee. You may remember a message that needs an answer. You may feel the urge to check something that was not important 5 minutes earlier. Do not treat these feelings as proof that you need a break. Sometimes they are simply signs that your mind is resisting effort. Stay with the task for a few more minutes, and the discomfort often becomes smaller. This does not mean you should work without rest. Rest is part of good focus. The goal is not to keep your mind under pressure all day. The goal is to decide where your attention goes and then give it proper recovery. A useful routine is to work with full attention for a defined period and then take a short break. Stand up, drink water, walk around, look away from the screen. Let your mind settle, then return to the next focused period. The quality of attention matters more than sitting at a desk for a long number of hours. You can also make focus easier by reducing decisions before the work begins. Prepare your workspace the night before. Put the needed documents in one place. Write down the first action you will take. Close unrelated tabs. Put your phone away. Decide what you will work on before you become tired. These small preparations matter because every decision takes some mental effort. The fewer unnecessary decisions you make before important work, the more attention remains for the work itself. Consider the difference between saying you need to work on your health and saying you will walk for 30 minutes after dinner. The first statement is a general desire. The second statement identifies an action and a time. The same principle applies to focused work. Saying you need to work on your business is too broad. Saying you will spend 40 minutes writing the first section of your plan is specific. Specific actions reduce confusion. Reduced confusion makes action easier. Your daily priorities should also reflect the person you are trying to become. This is where focus becomes personal growth rather than simple productivity. Your choices teach you what matters. You say you want to become healthier, but spend every evening giving your attention to entertainment. You say you want to become more skilled, but never protect time for learning. You say you want stronger relationships, but give people your attention only after everything else is finished. Your daily attention reveals your real priorities more clearly than your words do. This can be uncomfortable to admit, but it is useful. You do not need to judge yourself. You need accurate information. Look at yesterday and ask where your attention actually went, not where you planned for it to go, not where you hoped it would go. Look at what you really did. How much time went to your phone? How much went to work? How much went to learning? How much went to people you care about? How much went to things that had little value? This simple review can expose patterns that are difficult to notice while living through the day. For 1 week, keep a small attention record. You do not need an expensive system. Every few hours, write down what received most of your attention. Use simple words such as work, phone, family, learning, exercise, errands, entertainment, or rest. At the end of the week, look for patterns. You may discover that you spend more time reacting than creating. You may notice that your best hours are being used for low-value tasks. You may discover that certain people or situations repeatedly interrupt your priorities. Information gives you the power to make a better decision. There is a lesser-known benefit to doing this. Tracking attention can reveal the difference between time spent and energy spent. 2 hours of focused work may feel more demanding than 3 hours of casual browsing. Time alone does not explain your results. Your mental state matters. Some activities leave you ready to work. Other activities leave you scattered. Start noticing which activities increase your ability to concentrate and which activities make concentration harder afterward. This gives you another practical question to ask each evening. What made it easier for me to focus today? Then ask what made it harder. Your answers will become personal knowledge. Maybe you focus better after a walk. Maybe your attention drops after checking social media. Maybe you work better at a clean desk. Maybe certain conversations leave you distracted. Maybe you need food before difficult work. Maybe you need silence. Learn your own patterns. Self-improvement becomes much easier when you stop using general advice and start studying your actual behavior. Your environment also affects your choices more than you may realize. A phone on the desk is not neutral. An open entertainment site is not neutral. A noisy room is not neutral. A cluttered workspace is not neutral. Each one gives your attention another place to go. You do not have to rely on strong willpower every minute. Change the environment so the better choice becomes easier. Put distractions farther away. Keep useful tools close. Make your first task visible. Remove unnecessary choices before they appear. There is an important difference between saying no to a distraction and saying yes to a priority. Saying no focuses on what you are removing. Saying yes focuses on what you are protecting. This matters because a person can spend the whole day trying not to be distracted and still have no clear direction. Decide what deserves your attention first. Then distractions become easier to identify because you know what they are interrupting. Your relationships also need this kind of clarity. People close to you deserve real attention. A conversation while you are checking your phone is not the same as a conversation where you look at the person and listen. Put the device down during important conversations. Let the other person finish. Notice their voice. Notice their expression. Ask one more question before giving your answer. These actions are simple, but they communicate respect. Focus is not only a work skill, it is also a way of treating people. There will be days when you cannot give your preferred amount of attention to everything. That is normal. Life includes unexpected problems. Someone may need you. Work may change suddenly. Your energy may be lower than expected. On those days, do not throw away the entire day because the original plan changed. Return to the question of what matters most now. Choose the next useful action. Focus does not require perfect conditions. It requires repeated decisions. This is also why you should stop measuring a good day only by how many tasks you completed. A better measure is whether your attention went toward the things that mattered. You may complete 3 important tasks and have a better day than someone who completes 15 minor tasks. Quantity can hide poor priorities. A short list of meaningful actions can be more valuable than a long list that keeps you busy. At the end of each day, write 3 short answers. What mattered most today? What received too much attention? What deserves my best attention tomorrow? This takes only a few minutes, yet it creates a daily feedback system. You learn from the day instead of simply leaving it behind. Over time, you become better at recognizing what matters before the pressure begins. There is another discipline worth practicing. Do not change your main priority every time your feelings change. Your mood can move quickly. Your important goals should not. You may feel excited about one task in the morning and bored by it in the afternoon. That does not mean the task lost its value. Focus becomes stronger when you learn to continue useful work, even after the first burst of excitement disappears. You are training reliability rather than waiting for enthusiasm. Start tomorrow with one clear decision. Choose the task that deserves your best attention. Write it down before checking messages. Give it a defined period of uninterrupted work. Remove one obvious distraction. Work until the period ends. Then take a real break. After that, continue with the next responsibility. At night, review where your attention went. This process is simple enough to repeat and strong enough to change your daily behavior. You do not need to control every minute. You need to stop giving every minute away. Your attention is part of your life. Where you place it repeatedly will shape what you learn, what you build, how you work, how you treat people, and what kind of person you become. A focused day does not require a perfect schedule. It requires a clear decision about what matters and the discipline to honor that decision. Start there today. Choose what deserves your attention and give it the quality of attention it deserves. Chapter 2. Stop chasing things that do not matter. A large part of wasted time comes from giving serious attention to things that have little value. Many people are not lazy. They are simply busy with too many activities that do not improve their work, their relationships, their health, or their future. A full schedule can hide poor choices. You can spend an entire day moving from one task to another and still reach bedtime, knowing that the work that mattered most was left untouched. One of the hardest skills in personal growth is learning what deserves less of you. People usually ask what they should add to their lives. They look for another habit, another course, another project, another productivity method. A better question is, what should receive less attention? Every activity has a cost. Even a small activity can take time, energy, and mental space away from something more useful. The ability to remove low-value activity can improve your life without adding another responsibility. Start by noticing the things you do mainly because they are available. Your phone is available, entertainment is available, news is available, other people's opinions are available, messages are available. None of these things automatically deserve your attention. Availability is not importance. This is a simple distinction, but it can change your daily choices. A person who understands this stops treating every new piece of information as something that needs an immediate response. Pay attention to how often you reach for your phone without a clear reason. You may unlock it while waiting for water to boil. You may check it during a short break. You may open one application and move to another without remembering why you started. Each action looks harmless. The larger problem is the habit of looking for stimulation whenever there is a quiet moment. Your mind begins expecting something new every few minutes. Deep work then feels uncomfortable because it does not provide constant change. Try creating small periods where you have nothing to consume. Sit for 10 minutes without your phone. Walk without listening to anything. Eat one meal without watching a screen. Stand in a line without searching for entertainment. These moments may feel strange at first. That feeling is useful information. It shows how strongly your attention has become connected to constant input. Learning to tolerate ordinary quiet can make focused work easier because your mind becomes less dependent on constant stimulation. Another source of wasted attention is comparison. You may spend time watching what other people are doing and then feel pressure to change your own direction. Someone buys something new, someone gets promoted, someone starts a business, someone travels, someone becomes popular online. Their progress becomes information about your life, even though it has nothing to do with your responsibilities. Comparison can create urgency without creating value. You begin chasing goals because they look impressive rather than because they are right for you. Ask yourself a direct question before adopting a new goal. Would I still want this if nobody could see it? That question can expose many false priorities. You may discover that you want the result but not the work required to achieve it. You may realize that you are attracted to recognition rather than the actual responsibility. You may notice that you are following someone else's definition of success. A clear life requires the courage to separate personal value from public attention. There is also a difference between useful information and endless information. Learning is valuable. More information is not always more learning. Reading 10 articles about a subject can feel productive while leaving you with nothing to practice. Watching 5 videos about exercise does not produce the same result as actually exercising. Research has value when it prepares you to act. After you understand enough to take the next useful step, you should move from collecting information to using it. Use a simple stopping rule. Before consuming more information, ask what action the next piece of information will change. If you cannot name the action, then stop searching for the moment. This protects you from endless research. It also forces you to turn knowledge into behavior. You do not need to know everything before beginning. You need enough understanding to take the next responsible step and learn from the result. Many people also chase small problems because small problems provide quick satisfaction. You answer an easy message. You organize a folder. You adjust a document that was already good enough. You clean something that did not need cleaning. These tasks are not always useless. The problem appears when they become a way to avoid difficult work. Difficult work often has unclear results. Small work gives immediate completion. Your brain naturally likes completion. You must learn to recognize when completion is useful and when it is simply comfortable. Here is a practical test. Look at a task and ask whether completing it will meaningfully improve something. If the answer is yes, then decide how much attention it deserves. If the answer is no, then reduce it or remove it. Do not automatically give every task the same level of effort. Some responsibilities deserve your best thinking. Others deserve a quick response. A few should not be done at all. You also need to stop chasing approval. This can quietly consume hours because approval has no clear finish point. You send a message and wait for a response. You post something and check reactions. You make a decision and keep wondering whether everyone agrees. You change your work because you fear criticism. This keeps your attention outside your control. A healthier standard is to ask whether your action is reasonable, responsible, and consistent with your values. You cannot control every reaction. You can control the quality of your decision. Notice how much energy can disappear through unfinished mental loops. You remember that you need to call someone. You remember an unpaid bill. You remember a document that needs editing. You remember an idea, Your mind keeps bringing these items back because it does not know whether they will be handled. Put them into one trusted list. Give each item a clear next action. This reduces the need to repeatedly remember the same thing. Mental space becomes available for work that requires concentration. There is another habit worth removing. Stop checking progress before enough time has passed for progress to exist. People start exercising and check the mirror every day. They start learning a skill and judge themselves after a few sessions. They begin saving money and become frustrated because the balance has not changed much. Constant checking can create unnecessary emotional pressure. Measure important results at useful intervals. Daily action does not require daily judgment. Your attention also becomes weaker when you keep changing your personal rules. One day you decide to study. The next day you decide to focus on business. Then you start a new fitness plan. Then you change your schedule again. Each new plan creates excitement, but also creates another adjustment period. Give useful habits enough time to become familiar. Change them when evidence shows that they are not working. Do not change them simply because a new idea feels exciting. This is where discipline becomes practical. Discipline is not doing everything. Discipline is knowing what you will not do. You may decide that you will not check social media during focused work. You may decide that you will not accept meetings without a clear purpose. You may decide that you will not spend an hour researching something that requires 15 minutes of action. You may decide that you will not let another person's urgency automatically become your priority. These rules protect your attention before the distraction arrives. Try a one-day removal experiment. Choose 3 things that regularly consume your attention without giving you enough value. Remove them for one day. Do not replace them with another form of distraction. Notice what becomes possible. You may find time for exercise. You may finish a delayed task. You may have a better conversation. You may sleep earlier. The goal is not to live without entertainment or communication. The goal is to discover how much of your day is being used by activities you never consciously chose. At the end of that day, write down what you gained by removing those activities. More time is only one possible result. You may also gain calm. You may gain clearer thinking. You may feel less pressure. You may become more present with other people. These benefits matter because attention is not only about productivity, it affects the quality of your experience throughout the day. There will always be something new asking for your attention. A new message can arrive, a new trend can appear, a new opportunity can look exciting, a new problem can demand a response. You cannot control the amount of noise around you. You can control how much of that noise becomes part of your day. The mature choice is not to react to everything. It is to decide what deserves a response and what can remain outside your focus. Tonight, take 10 minutes and look at your day without judging yourself. Identify one thing that truly mattered. Identify one thing that consumed attention without producing much value. Then decide what you will reduce tomorrow. Do not make a long list. Choose one change and carry it out. Personal improvement becomes practical when you remove one unnecessary behavior and create room for one better action. Your life does not improve simply because you add more activities. It improves when your limited attention is used for things that have real value. Stop chasing every new demand. Stop measuring your worth through other people's reactions. Stop collecting information without applying it. Stop giving difficult work away to easy distractions. Keep what matters. Reduce what does not. Give your time and energy to the people, the responsibilities and the goals that deserve them. Chapter 3. Clear your day before it controls you. A clear day does not happen by accident. It starts with a decision made before the pressure begins. Without a clear plan, the first request you receive can become your priority, even when it has little connection to what you actually need to accomplish. This is how people lose control of ordinary days. One message becomes a conversation. One small task becomes 5 more tasks. A quick interruption becomes an hour of scattered work. The first practical step is to clear your mind before you try to manage your schedule. Take a few minutes at the beginning of the day and write down everything competing for your attention. Do not keep these items in your head. Your mind is useful for making decisions and solving problems. It is not a reliable storage place for every task you need to remember. Once the tasks are written down, you can see the actual size of your day, instead of carrying a vague feeling that there is too much to do. Now separate your responsibilities into 3 groups. Some things must be handled today. Some things can wait. Some things do not need to be done by you. This simple separation can remove a surprising amount of pressure. People often treat every task as equally urgent because they have never stopped to decide which tasks actually have consequences. A clear day begins with sorting rather than rushing. Look closely at the tasks that must happen today. Give each one a realistic amount of time. Do not create a schedule that assumes you will work without interruptions from morning until night. Real life does not work that way. A useful schedule includes space for unexpected events. It also includes food breaks, movement short pauses, and time to recover. A plan that leaves no room for normal life is not a strong plan. It is a source of frustration. There is another mistake worth correcting. Many people plan based on available hours instead of available energy. You may have 4 free hours in the afternoon, but feel mentally exhausted after a demanding morning. You may have only 1 hour in the morning, but be able to think clearly during that period. Put difficult work where your mind is strongest, whenever your responsibilities allow it. Use lower energy periods for routine tasks. This makes better use of the same amount of time. Pay attention to your own energy pattern for 1 week. Notice the hours when you think clearly. Notice the hours when you become restless. Notice when you make careless mistakes. Notice when you feel physically tired. This is personal information. You do not need to copy another person's schedule. Build your day around the way your own energy actually works. The next step is to decide what must happen before the day becomes busy. Choose one meaningful task and give it a protected starting point. The goal is not to complete your entire life before breakfast. The goal is to make progress on something important before other demands begin competing for your attention. Even 30 focused minutes can change the emotional experience of a day because you know that something valuable has already received your effort. Your schedule should also have a stopping point for certain activities. Without limits, a simple task can expand into the entire day. Email can take 2 hours. Research can continue for half a day. Meetings can spread into spaces that were meant for important work. Set a time boundary before you begin. Tell yourself that you will spend 20 minutes answering routine messages or 40 minutes reviewing documents. A time boundary forces you to make decisions instead of endlessly continuing. Learn to leave space between major tasks. Moving directly from one demanding activity to another can make your attention less effective. A short transition helps your mind change direction. Stand up, drink water, walk for a few minutes, take several slow breaths, look away from the screen, then begin the next task. The purpose is not to waste time. The purpose is to prevent one task from mentally following you into the next one. You should also prepare for predictable interruptions. If you know that certain people regularly need your help at a specific time, then plan around it. If calls usually arrive during a certain period, then avoid placing your most demanding work there. If you have family responsibilities in the evening, then do not build your most important personal work into that period, and then become frustrated when it gets interrupted. Planning improves when it includes reality instead of fighting reality. Another useful habit is to decide what you will not do today. This is different from making a task list. A task list tells you what deserves action. A refusal list protects you from unnecessary action. You might decide not to browse social media during work hours. You might decide not to accept an unplanned meeting. You might decide not to start a new project before finishing an existing priority. You might decide not to spend an hour solving a problem that someone else can handle. This becomes especially important when your day starts changing unexpectedly. A new request arrives, and you feel pressure to respond immediately. Pause before accepting it. Ask what will happen if you handle it later. Ask what important task will be delayed if you handle it now. This short pause can prevent a small request from taking control of your schedule. Do not confuse planning with controlling everything. Planning gives you a direction. Control is not the goal because many parts of the day are outside your control. A colleague may need help. A family member may call. A deadline may change. A problem may appear. Your plan should help you make better decisions during those events, rather than make you feel like you failed because the day did not follow every detail. There is a simple recovery method for disrupted days. Stop. Look at what remains. Choose the most useful unfinished task. Give it a clear time period. Continue. Do not spend the next hour feeling angry about the time you lost. That reaction does not recover anything. A disciplined person learns to restart quickly. The ability to recover from disruption is often more valuable than having a perfect schedule. Your evening also affects the quality of the next day. Spend a few minutes preparing before you sleep. Look at tomorrow's responsibilities. Choose the most important task. Put the needed materials where you can find them. Write down any concern that might keep your mind active at night. Decide roughly when you will handle it. This simple preparation can reduce morning confusion because you are not starting from zero. There is a deeper reason this works. Clear planning reduces the number of decisions you have to make under pressure. Decision-making becomes harder when you are tired, hungry, rushed, or emotionally upset. A decision made the night before can be easier than the same decision made during a stressful morning. You can choose your workout clothes in advance. You can prepare your work materials. You can decide your first task. You can establish a reasonable start time. Small decisions made early can protect your attention later. Try this tomorrow. Before touching your phone in the morning, write down the 3 things that deserve your attention. Choose one as the main priority. Decide when you will work on it. Identify one likely distraction and decide how you will handle it. Then begin. At midday, Check your progress without criticizing yourself. Ask what changed and what matters now. Adjust the rest of the day based on facts rather than frustration. At night, review the day honestly. Where did the plan help? Where did the day become crowded? Which interruption was legitimate? Which interruption could have been prevented? Which task took longer than expected? Which task should have been removed? These questions teach you how to plan better. A schedule becomes more useful when it is improved through experience rather than treated as something that must be perfect. A clear day gives you more than completed tasks. It gives you a stronger sense of control over your choices. You finish work without carrying every unfinished responsibility in your head. You spend time with people without constantly thinking about what you should be doing next. You rest with less guilt because you know what has been handled and what has been deliberately scheduled for later. Your day will always contain unexpected demands. That cannot be removed. What can change is how quickly those demands take control of you. Start the morning with a clear decision. Give important work a place. Leave room for real life. Set limits around low-value activities. Prepare for predictable interruptions. Review your choices at night. The purpose is not to make every day perfect. The purpose is to make your attention deliberate instead of accidental. Chapter 4. Give one task your full attention. Your best work begins when your mind stops trying to be in several places at once. A task receives better quality when your attention stays with it long enough to understand it properly. Many people believe they are doing several things at once, but most of the time they are moving rapidly between different activities. That constant movement makes simple work take longer and makes difficult work harder than it needs to be. Look at what happens during an ordinary work session. You begin writing. A message appears. You read it. You return to the document. Then you remember an email. You open it. You see another request. You answer it. You return again and realize you have forgotten the sentence you were trying to write. Nothing dramatic happened, yet several minutes disappeared and your original thought became harder to recover. This is one reason people finish long days feeling tired without feeling satisfied. Full attention does not mean working for hours without stopping. It means giving one activity your complete mental presence for a defined period. You decide what you are doing. You remove unrelated inputs. You stay with the task. You stop at a planned point. Then you recover before starting something else. This is a skill that becomes stronger through repeated practice. Start with a small period. Choose one task and give it 15 minutes of complete attention. 15 minutes is enough to reveal how often your mind tries to leave the activity. Put your phone away. Close unnecessary tabs. Keep only the materials related to the task nearby. Set a timer, then begin with one clear action. Do not spend the first 5 minutes arranging the perfect environment. Start doing the actual work. You will probably notice something interesting. The first few minutes may feel uncomfortable. Your mind may look for another activity. You may suddenly remember something that seems important. You may feel an urge to check your phone. Write the thought down instead of acting on it. Keep a small piece of paper beside you. When a distracting thought appears, write 1 or 2 words and return to your task. This protects the thought without allowing it to control your attention. This simple technique is useful because many distractions are not urgent. Your mind often produces reminders at inconvenient times. You remember that you need groceries. You think of someone you need to contact. You suddenly remember a small work task. Writing it down tells your brain that the information has been captured. You do not need to keep repeating it mentally while trying to work. After 15 minutes, take a short break and check the result. Do not judge the session by how focused you felt. Judge it by what you produced. Maybe you wrote a page. Maybe you solved part of a problem. Maybe you read several important pages and took useful notes. The result gives you evidence about what focused attention can produce. Increase the work period gradually as your ability improves. Another important skill is knowing the difference between starting and entering deep work. The first minutes of a task often involve preparation and orientation. You may need to read previous notes. You may need to understand the problem. You may need to decide what the next step is. Do not abandon the task simply because the first few minutes feel slow. Staying with it gives your mind time to become familiar with the problem. This is especially important for difficult learning. A new subject can feel confusing because your brain has not built enough connections between the ideas. Leaving the subject every few minutes prevents that understanding from developing. Stay with one concept. Read it carefully. Explain it in your own words. Write an example. Then test yourself without looking at the answer. This turns attention into learning rather than simple exposure to information. Use active attention instead of passive attention. Reading a page while thinking about something else is not focused learning. Listening to a lesson while checking messages is not focused learning. Looking at instructions while planning your weekend is not focused learning. Active attention means asking yourself what the information means and how you will use it. Write short notes. Solve an example. Explain the idea aloud. Test your memory. Your mind needs a job to perform. The same principle applies to conversations. Give the person in front of you your full attention. Put the phone out of reach. Do not prepare your reply while the other person is speaking. Listen for the meaning behind their words. Notice changes in their voice. Notice when they pause. Ask a clear follow-up question. People can feel the difference between being heard and simply being waited on. Full attention can improve relationships without requiring more hours together. There is also a practical lesson about meetings. Many meetings become inefficient because people divide their attention. Someone speaks while another person checks email. Another person takes a call. Someone else works on another document. The meeting continues, but the quality of decisions becomes weaker. Before joining an important meeting, decide what you need to understand or decide. Keep that purpose visible. Focus on the discussion until the necessary decision is clear. Your physical environment can either support or weaken this habit. Make distractions less convenient. Put your phone in another room during important work when possible. Use headphones if background noise is a problem. Keep unrelated documents out of sight. Turn off notifications that do not require immediate action. A focused environment reduces the number of times you have to tell yourself no. Do not depend completely on willpower. Willpower changes with sleep, stress, hunger, and emotional pressure. Environment can remain stable. If your phone is beside you every few minutes, you have to resist it. If the phone is in another room, the same temptation requires more effort to reach. Good focus often comes from making distraction inconvenient, rather than trying to become stronger every second. Another useful practice is to define what done means before starting. A task can remain open forever when there is no clear finish point. Instead of saying you will work on your report, say you will complete the introduction and review the first 2 sections. Instead of saying you will study, say you will complete 20 practice questions and review the mistakes. Clear finish points reduce mental uncertainty and help you maintain attention. You should also stop expecting perfect concentration. Your mind will wander. That is normal. The important skill is returning. Notice the distraction without turning it into a long internal argument. Bring your attention back to the next physical action. Read the next paragraph. Write the next sentence. Solve the next problem. Make the next call. Focus becomes stronger through these returns. A useful daily exercise is to count how many times you return to the task. Do not count every distraction with frustration. Count the returns as practice. You looked away and came back. You remembered something and came back. You heard a noise and came back. You felt bored and came back. Each return teaches your mind that distraction does not have to become action. There is another reason people struggle to give one task full attention. They keep several unfinished tasks visible. An open email sits beside a document. A phone displays new messages. A browser contains several unrelated tabs. A notebook has multiple projects listed. Every visible item competes for mental space. Before starting focused work, remove unnecessary visual choices. Keep the current task in front of you and store the rest somewhere you trust. At the end of a focus session, write down the next step before taking your break. This small action makes it easier to return later. You might write that the next step is to edit the second section or review 3 pages of notes. When you come back, you do not have to spend 10 minutes figuring out where you stopped. The next action is already clear. Use this method during your next important work period. Choose one task. Define what completion means. Remove unnecessary distractions. Set a realistic work period. Keep a place for unexpected thoughts. Return every time your mind wanders. Finish at the planned point. Record the result. Then rest before moving to something else. The goal is not to become a person who never gets distracted. That standard is unrealistic. The goal is to become a person who notices distraction quickly and returns to what matters. That ability has practical value in work, study, relationships, and personal development. It helps you listen better. It helps you learn faster. It helps you produce better work. It also reduces the feeling that your mind is being pulled in several directions throughout the day. Give one task the attention it deserves. Stay with it long enough to understand it. Work on it long enough to make meaningful progress. Then move on deliberately, rather than because something else demanded your attention. This is how a limited amount of time can produce better results without adding another hour to the day. Chapter 5. Say no when something wastes your focus. Saying no is not about becoming difficult or distant. It is about deciding what deserves your limited attention before someone else decides for you. Every yes creates a responsibility, even when that responsibility looks small. A short conversation can become an hour. A quick request can create more work. A simple favor can interrupt the one task that required your best thinking. Protecting your focus starts with recognizing the real cost of agreeing too quickly. Many people say yes before they understand what they are accepting. Someone asks for help, and the answer comes immediately. A colleague asks for another task, and you agree because you do not want to disappoint them. A friend asks you to attend something and you accept without checking your schedule. Later, you feel pressure because several commitments are competing for the same limited time. The problem started with a fast answer. A pause would have created room for a better decision. Build a simple habit today. Do not answer every request immediately. Use a short response such as, "Let me check and get back to you." This does not reject the person. It gives you time to examine the request. Look at your current responsibilities. Check the time required. Consider the importance. Decide whether the request fits your actual capacity. A few seconds of patience can prevent hours of unnecessary work. Learn to separate a genuine responsibility from someone else's preference. A manager may have a real work requirement. A family member may have a legitimate need. A friend may simply prefer that you join them. These situations deserve different responses. Not every request carries the same level of responsibility. Treating them all equally will leave you unable to give proper attention to the things that truly matter. There is also a difference between being helpful and being constantly available. Helping someone with a meaningful problem can strengthen a relationship. Being available for every small request can create dependence and resentment. You may start feeling that people are taking advantage of you. They may not even realize it. They may simply have learned that you always say yes. A clear boundary can improve a relationship because expectations become more realistic. Pay attention to the words you use when refusing something. You do not need a long explanation. You can say that you cannot take it on today. You can say that your schedule does not allow it. You can say that you are not the right person for the task. You can offer another time when appropriate. Clear language is usually kinder than making a vague promise and then failing to deliver. Some people struggle to say no because they fear being judged. They imagine that the other person will think they are selfish, lazy, or unhelpful. This fear can make them accept work they cannot complete well. Then they become stressed and their performance suffers. A respectful no can be more responsible than a weak yes. It is better to be honest about your capacity than to promise attention you do not have. Try an attention cost test before agreeing to something new. Ask what this request will interrupt. The request itself may take 20 minutes. But what happens to the work you were already doing? How long will it take to regain concentration? Does the interruption create another task afterward? Does it change your schedule? The true cost is often larger than the visible time. This is especially important during focused work. Some tasks need continuous thinking. Writing a report may require holding several ideas in your mind. Studying a difficult subject may require concentration across many pages. Planning an important decision may require careful comparison. An interruption can break that mental process. Returning to the task may require starting part of the thinking again. A request that takes 5 minutes can therefore create a much larger cost. You can reduce this problem by creating clear availability periods. Tell co-workers when you are available for questions. Set a period for checking messages. Tell family members when you need uninterrupted time for important work. The goal is not to disappear. The goal is to make access predictable. People often interrupt because they do not know when they can reach you. Clear periods can reduce unnecessary interruptions. Your phone needs its own rules. Notifications are small requests for attention. Each one asks you to stop what you are doing and look. Most do not deserve that response. Turn off notifications that are not important. Keep only essential alerts active. Check messages at planned times instead of responding to every sound. You will still receive the information. You simply decide when it enters your attention. Social invitations also require honest decisions. You do not need to attend everything you are invited to. Ask whether the event supports an important relationship or responsibility. Ask whether you actually want to go. Ask whether the time fits your current priorities. A social life is important, but constant availability can leave you too tired for the people and responsibilities that matter most. Learn to say no to your own impulses too. This is often harder than refusing other people. You may tell yourself that you will watch one short video. You may open an application during a break and stay there much longer than planned. You may start browsing products you do not need. You may decide to check news for 5 minutes and continue for 40. These choices do not involve another person's request. They still consume your focus. Create friction between yourself and your most common distractions. Remove unnecessary applications from the first screen of your phone. Log out of websites that you check too often. Keep entertainment away from your main workspace. Use a separate place for focused work when possible. The goal is to make the impulsive choice slightly harder. Small barriers can give you enough time to remember what you actually intended to do. There is a useful question to ask before opening something that was not part of your plan. What am I looking for right now? If you cannot answer clearly, then pause. You may simply be uncomfortable with the current task. You may be bored. You may want stimulation. You may be avoiding uncertainty. Identifying the real reason gives you a chance to choose rather than react. Another form of wasted focus comes from unnecessary conversations. Not every disagreement needs to be won. Not every opinion needs a response. Not every criticism requires an explanation. Some conversations produce understanding. Others only create more emotion and more time spent defending yourself. Learn to recognize the difference. A calm person does not need to respond to every statement. This does not mean avoiding important conversations. Some conversations deserve your full attention precisely because they are difficult. You may need to address a problem at work. You may need to apologize. You may need to explain a boundary. You may need to discuss money with someone close to you. These conversations can be uncomfortable but valuable. The skill is not saying no to difficult communication. The skill is saying no to communication that has no useful purpose. You should also stop saying yes simply because something looks like an opportunity. Not every opportunity belongs in your life. A new project may sound exciting but create conflict with an existing goal. A new commitment may offer recognition but leave no time for your current responsibilities. A new activity may be enjoyable but move you away from what you have decided to build. Opportunity has value only when it fits your direction. Use a weekly review to identify where you gave attention away. Write down the commitments you accepted. Mark the ones that were necessary. Mark the ones that were valuable. Mark the ones that could have been declined. Look for patterns. Maybe you accept too many meetings. Maybe you answer messages immediately. Maybe you take responsibility for problems that belong to other people. The purpose is not to blame yourself. The purpose is to learn where a stronger boundary would help. Practice one clear no each day. Start with something small. Decline an unnecessary request. Delay a non-urgent response. Skip an activity that adds little value. Turn off a distracting notification. Protect one period of uninterrupted work. Each decision strengthens your ability to control your attention. You are not becoming less helpful, you are becoming more deliberate. Remember that your attention is also a form of respect. When you agree to something you cannot properly attend to, you may give the person a weak version of your effort. When you decline honestly, you allow them to find someone who has the time and energy to help. Saying no can therefore be an act of responsibility. It prevents false promises and protects the quality of the commitments you keep. At the end of today, ask yourself where you said yes without thinking. Ask what made you agree. Was it fear of disappointing someone? Was it habit? Was it pressure? Was it genuine importance? Then decide how you will handle a similar request next time. Do not wait for a stressful situation to create your boundary. Decide your standard before the pressure arrives. Your life will always contain requests. People will need things. Messages will appear. Invitations will arrive. New ideas will compete for your attention. You cannot remove all of them. You can become more selective about what receives your time. A strong focus requires more than knowing what to do. It requires knowing what you will refuse to let interrupt the work and relationships that matter. Say no with respect. Say yes with intention. Give your attention to fewer things and give those things better effort. Chapter 6. Finish important work before starting something new. Starting something new feels good because the beginning usually requires less emotional effort than the middle. A new project brings fresh ideas and visible excitement. An unfinished project brings decisions, problems, corrections, and uncertainty. This is why many capable people collect beginnings while carrying a long list of unfinished work. Their problem is not a lack of ability. Their problem is that they keep spending attention on new starts before giving important work enough time to reach a useful finish. Look at the projects currently open in your life. You may have a course you started but never completed. You may have a book with several chapters left. You may have a business idea sitting in a notebook. You may have a work project that keeps getting pushed back. You may have several personal goals competing for attention. Each unfinished project takes up some mental space because part of you knows it still needs a decision. Too many open commitments can make your mind feel busy before the day even begins. There is a practical reason finishing matters. Completion creates information. You learn what works when you take something through the full process. Starting a project teaches you about the beginning. Finishing teaches you about the problems that appear later. You learn how long the work actually takes. You discover where quality drops. You find which steps were unnecessary. You see what other people need from the final result. This knowledge is difficult to gain from constant starting. Choose one important unfinished task today. Do not choose every unfinished task. Pick the one that has meaningful value and is close enough to completion that a focused effort can move it forward. Define what finished means. A vague goal creates endless work. A clear finish point gives you a target. Maybe finished means sending the report. Maybe it means completing the final section. Maybe it means submitting the application. Maybe it means cleaning up the project and delivering it. Be careful with the word perfect. Perfection can keep a task open long after the useful work is complete. There is always another sentence to edit, another detail to check, another improvement to consider. Quality matters, but quality needs a boundary. Ask what standard the task actually requires. A legal document may need careful review. A personal note may not. A professional presentation may need polishing. A simple internal document may only need to be clear. Match your effort to the real purpose. One reason people abandon important work is that they underestimate the middle stage. The beginning is clear. The ending is visible. The middle is where problems appear. You may discover missing information. You may make mistakes. You may lose interest. You may realize that your first idea was incomplete. This is not evidence that you chose the wrong project. It is often a normal part of doing meaningful work. Learn to expect the difficult middle instead of treating it as a reason to leave. Use a progress checkpoint when the work becomes difficult. Stop for a few minutes and write 3 things. What is already done? What remains? What is the next physical action? This prevents vague frustration from controlling you. You may discover that the project is closer to completion than it feels. You may also discover that one specific problem is blocking everything else. Once the problem is visible, you can solve it directly. Another useful rule is to reduce the size of the next action. People often delay work because the task feels too large. Instead of saying, "You need to finish the whole project," identify the next small action that moves it toward completion. Open the document. Review the last section. Make the missing phone call. Gather the required numbers. Write the first 3 sentences. Small actions reduce resistance without changing the importance of the final goal. You should also create a finish list rather than adding another long task list. Write down the important things you have already started. Then choose a small number that deserve completion before new commitments are accepted. This creates a limit on open projects. You are telling yourself that a new beginning must have a reason. New ideas are not automatically rejected. They are evaluated against what you already promised yourself. New ideas can be exciting enough to interrupt useful work. You may suddenly think of a better project while working on the current one. Write the idea down. Do not immediately switch. Give it a place where you can review it later. This protects creativity without allowing every new thought to control your schedule. A new idea can wait. Important work deserves the chance to reach completion. There is also a financial lesson here. Starting many things can spread money as well as attention. You buy tools for a new hobby. You purchase another course. You subscribe to another service. You collect equipment for another project. Each purchase feels small, but several unfinished interests can become an expensive pattern. Before spending money on a new interest, ask whether you have used what you already own. Completion can protect your finances as well as your time. The same principle applies to learning. People often keep collecting courses because learning feels productive. But knowledge without practice has limited value. Choose one skill and work through enough material to use it. Take notes that help you act. Complete exercises. Build something. Make mistakes. Correct them. The point is not to own information. The point is to become capable of doing something with it. Your environment can also encourage unfinished work. A desk covered with several projects tells your brain that everything is active. Keep only the current project visible during focused work. Store the rest in organized places. This is not about having a perfect workspace. It is about reducing the number of unfinished choices your eyes and mind have to process. There is another important issue. Some projects should be stopped rather than finished. Completion is not a rule that says every commitment must continue forever. Sometimes evidence shows that a project has no useful future. Sometimes circumstances have changed. Sometimes you started something for the wrong reason. In those cases, make a deliberate decision to close it. Write down why you are stopping. Remove the materials. Cancel unnecessary commitments. Do not leave the project in an unclear state where it continues consuming attention. A clean ending is different from abandonment. Abandonment leaves uncertainty. A deliberate decision creates closure. You can say that the project is no longer worth the cost. That decision can be responsible. The purpose of finishing important work is not to force yourself to complete everything. It is to stop creating unfinished commitments without making clear decisions about them. Try a 7-day completion challenge. Choose one meaningful, unfinished task. Give it a defined period each day. Do not add a new major project during that period. Track only the progress that moves the task toward its finish point. At the end of each session, write the next action. This makes returning easier because you do not have to spend time deciding where to begin again. Pay attention to the emotional change that comes with completion. A finished task can create relief because your mind no longer has to remember it. You may sit down at night and feel lighter because one responsibility has been handled. You may wake up with more mental space because yesterday's unfinished work is no longer waiting for you. This is one reason completion can improve rest. Your brain has fewer open commitments competing for attention. There is also confidence that comes from finishing. Not the confidence that comes from telling yourself you can do something. The stronger kind comes from evidence. You started. You continued when the work became difficult. You corrected problems. You reached the required standard. You delivered the result. That experience teaches you something about your own reliability. The next difficult project becomes easier to approach because you have proof that you can stay with work after the excitement disappears. Before starting something new today, look at what is already open. Ask whether the new activity deserves attention more than the important unfinished work in front of you. If the answer is no, return to the existing task. Give it another focused period. Move it closer to completion. If the answer is yes, make the decision consciously and explain to yourself why the new responsibility deserves the change. A productive life is not built from endless beginnings. It is built from meaningful commitments that receive enough attention to become useful results. Protect the work you have already chosen. Finish what matters. Close what no longer matters. Delay new commitments when necessary. Let your actions show that your attention has value and that your promises to yourself deserve to be completed. Chapter 7. Check where your attention goes each day. Your attention leaves a record of your real priorities. Your calendar may say one thing, while your behavior says something completely different. You may say that learning matters to you, yet spend almost every free moment watching short videos. You may say that your health is important, yet use your best energy on work and leave exercise for a time when you are already exhausted. You may say that your family matters deeply, yet remain distracted during conversations. This is why reviewing your attention can teach you more than making another promise to yourself. Start with observation rather than judgment. For one ordinary day, write down what receives your attention. Do not try to make yourself look productive. Record what actually happens. Write down when you work, when you use your phone, when you talk with people, when you rest, when you exercise, and when you do nothing useful. You do not need to record every minute. A simple note every hour or two is enough to reveal patterns that are difficult to notice while the day is moving quickly. Use broad categories so the process stays easy. You might write work, learning, family, phone errands, exercise, entertainment, and rest. The goal is not perfect measurement. The goal is visibility. At the end of the day, look at the list and ask what received the most attention. Then ask whether that amount matches what you claim to value. This comparison can be uncomfortable, but it is one of the most useful forms of self-knowledge. There is an important difference between planned attention and captured attention. Planned attention is what you intentionally give to something. Captured attention is what takes your mind because something demanded it. A notification captures attention. A stressful message captures attention. A loud sound captures attention. An argument can capture attention long after the conversation ends. You may physically leave the situation, but continue replaying it in your mind. Learning to recognize captured attention helps you understand why some days feel mentally full, even when little meaningful work was completed. Track not only what you were doing, but what you were thinking about. You may spend an hour working while mentally returning to a problem at home. You may sit with family while thinking about tomorrow's responsibilities. You may read a book while worrying about money. This does not mean you are failing. It means your attention has two levels. Your body can be in one place, while your mind is somewhere else. Noticing this difference can help you identify problems that need a separate solution. For example, suppose you keep thinking about an unfinished task while trying to relax. The answer may not be stronger concentration. The answer may be to create a clear plan for that task. Write down what needs to happen and when you will handle it. Once the problem has a defined place in your schedule, your mind may have less reason to keep bringing it back. Attention problems sometimes come from unresolved decisions rather than simple distraction. Another useful measure is attention quality. Not all hours have the same value. 1 hour of careful study can produce more useful learning than 3 hours of distracted reading. One focused conversation can strengthen a relationship more than several hours spent in the same room while looking at a screen. Ask yourself not only how long you spent on something, but how present you were during that time. At the end of each work session, give it a simple rating from 1 to 5. 1 means you were mostly distracted. 5 means you were deeply engaged. After several days, look for patterns. You may discover that your attention is strongest at a particular time. You may notice that certain environments reduce your concentration. You may find that sleep affects your ability to stay with difficult tasks. These observations help you design better days based on your own behavior. Keep an eye on transitions. A large amount of attention can disappear between activities. You finish one task and immediately check your phone. You return from lunch and spend 15 minutes browsing. You finish a meeting and start reading unrelated messages. Each transition seems small, but repeated transitions can create a large amount of wasted time. Create a short reset between activities. Decide what comes next before you leave the current task. This gives your attention a clear direction. Your phone is especially useful to study because it can show how often your attention is being interrupted. Look at your screen time report. Notice how often you unlock the device. Look at which applications consume the most time. Do not use the numbers to attack yourself. Use them as evidence. You may believe that you only check something occasionally and discover that the pattern is much larger. Accurate information allows a better decision. The most important number may not be total screen time. Look at the timing. Check whether you use the phone during periods when you intended to do difficult work. 10 minutes of browsing during a low-energy period may not matter much. 10 minutes of browsing at the beginning of an important work session can change the entire session. Context matters. Attention should be protected most carefully when the work requires the highest mental effort. You can also study your emotional triggers. Notice what happens immediately before you lose focus. Are you bored? Are you confused? Are you anxious? Are you tired? Are you waiting for someone? Are you facing a difficult decision? The trigger matters because the right solution depends on the reason. Boredom may require a clearer work target. Confusion may require learning more. Anxiety may require writing down the problem. Tiredness may require rest. Do not use one solution for every attention problem. Another practical exercise is to identify your 5 biggest attention leaks. These are repeated activities that take attention without giving enough value in return. It could be unnecessary phone checking. It could be constant email monitoring. It could be gossip. It could be online arguments. It could be excessive research. It could be worrying about things you cannot control. Choose one leak and reduce it for 7 days. Do not try to fix everything at once. During those 7 days, observe what replaces the lost activity. This is important because removing a habit without changing the surrounding behavior can leave a gap. You may remove social media and then start watching videos instead. You may stop checking email and start checking news. You may stop one distraction only to create another. Replace the old action with something specific. Read a few pages, walk outside, stretch, prepare tomorrow's work, talk with someone, sit quietly, give your attention a better destination. Review your attention at the end of the week. Look for 3 things. What gave you useful results? What gave you useful recovery? What repeatedly consumed attention without enough return? This creates a more balanced picture. Rest is not wasted attention. A relaxed meal with people you love is not wasted attention. A walk can be valuable even if it produces no measurable work. The purpose is not to turn every minute into productivity. The purpose is to make sure your attention supports the life you actually want. You should also examine attention given to other people's problems. Caring about people is valuable. Carrying every problem personally is different. You may spend hours worrying about decisions that another adult must make. You may repeatedly think about someone else's choices after you have already offered reasonable help. You may read every update about a problem you cannot influence. Ask what part is actually yours. Give attention to the part you can affect and release the rest. This habit becomes especially useful during stressful periods. Stress can make your attention narrow around one problem. You may replay the same thought without moving toward a solution. Break the loop by writing 3 columns. What I can control, what I can influence, what I cannot control. Then choose one action from the first column. This turns attention from repeated worry into practical movement. Your daily review should remain short. 5 minutes is enough. Ask what received my best attention today. What captured attention without permission? What deserves more attention tomorrow? Write honest answers. Over time you will see patterns that a single day cannot reveal. Those patterns can guide changes in your schedule, environment, relationships, and habits. There is a deeper lesson here. You cannot improve what you refuse to observe. A person can repeatedly complain about having no time, while never examining how attention is being used. Once you start looking carefully, the problem becomes more specific. Maybe the issue is phone use. Maybe it is too many commitments. Maybe it is poor sleep. Maybe it is unclear work. Maybe it is emotional worry. Each problem requires a different response. Do this review for 7 days before making major changes. Let the evidence speak. Your goal is not to become perfect. Your goal is to become familiar with your own patterns. Once you know where your attention goes, you can make deliberate adjustments. You can protect your strongest hours. You can reduce unnecessary stimulation. You can give more presence to people you love. You can stop spending valuable energy on problems that do not belong to you. Your attention is being used every day, whether you monitor it or not. The difference is whether you are directing it or discovering where it went after the day is over. Start looking closely. Record what happens. Notice the triggers. Study the patterns. Change one thing at a time. The more accurately you understand your attention, the more deliberately you can use your time, and the more control you gain over the direction of your life. Chapter 8. Keep your focus when progress feels slow. Slow progress does not mean that your effort is failing. Many valuable changes become visible only after a long period of ordinary work. You can study for weeks before your understanding feels different. You can exercise regularly before your body shows a clear change. You can save money for months before the amount feels meaningful. You can improve your work habits without receiving immediate praise. The difficult part is continuing during the period when your actions are real, but the results are still small. People often lose focus because they expect effort to produce quick evidence. They begin a new habit and look for immediate improvement. When the result is not obvious, they become doubtful. Then they change the method. They start another plan. They search for new advice. They create another goal. This constant switching can make slow progress even slower because the person never gives one approach enough time to produce useful evidence. Learn to separate action, results, and trends. An action is what you do today. A result is what that action produces. A trend is the direction those results are moving over time. One difficult day does not tell you the trend. One excellent day does not tell you the trend either. You need repeated observations. This is why judging yourself after every small result can create unnecessary frustration. Choose a measurement that fits the goal. If you are learning a language, you can measure practice sessions completed and new words used correctly. If you are improving fitness, you can track workouts, completed strength or endurance. If you are building a business, you can track useful conversations, completed products improved, or customers served. If you are developing better focus, you can track uninterrupted work sessions. A useful measurement should tell you whether you are doing the behavior that creates the result. Do not measure everything. Too much tracking can become another distraction. Pick 1 or 2 numbers that give you useful information. Record them at a regular interval. Then review them instead of checking constantly. This creates patience based on evidence rather than patience based on hope. You know what you are doing, and you know whether the pattern is improving. There is another reason progress can feel slow. Your standard may change as your ability improves. A beginner may be proud of completing 30 minutes of focused work. After several months, that same person may feel disappointed because they expected more. The actual improvement can be hidden because the person is comparing today's performance with a new standard rather than with their earlier ability. Keep a record of where you started. Old evidence can show growth that your current expectations no longer notice. Look at your behavior from several months ago. How often did you exercise? How often did you study? How often did you finish important tasks? How often did you lose your temper? How often did you avoid difficult work? Then compare that with your current pattern. Improvement is not only visible in major achievements, it can appear in reduced mistakes, better recovery, stronger habits, and faster decisions. You also need to understand delayed rewards. Some actions have a long gap between effort and visible benefit. Learning is one example. At first, you may feel confused because new information is entering your mind faster than you can organize it. Continued practice allows the information to become easier to use. The change may seem sudden, but the preparation happened gradually. Do not mistake delayed visibility for lack of progress. During slow periods, focus on the process that you can control. You cannot force a promotion. You cannot control how quickly a customer responds. You cannot decide exactly how fast your body changes. You cannot make another person appreciate your work. You can control whether you prepare, whether you practice, whether you improve the next piece of work, and whether you keep your commitments. Put your attention on those actions. Sometimes, this becomes easier when you create minimum standards. A minimum standard is the smallest useful action you will complete, even on a difficult day. You may study for 15 minutes. You may walk for 20 minutes. You may write 1 page. You may review your finances for 10 minutes. The minimum keeps the habit connected to your life when conditions are not ideal. On strong days, you can do more. On difficult days, you protect the basic behavior. Do not use the minimum standard as an excuse to remain comfortable. It is a flaw rather than a target. Its purpose is to prevent complete abandonment during difficult periods. Once you begin the task, you may continue beyond the minimum. Sometimes, starting is the hardest part. A small commitment can reduce the mental resistance that comes before action. You should also prepare for plateaus. A plateau is a period where the result appears to stop changing even though you continue practicing. This can happen in many areas. It does not always mean you should quit. It may mean you need a new challenge. It may mean your current method has reached its limit. It may mean you need better recovery. It may mean the measurement you are using is too narrow. Study the situation before changing direction. Ask 3 questions during a plateau. What has improved that I am not measuring? What part of my method has stopped producing better results? What small change can I test without abandoning the entire process? These questions prevent emotional decisions. You keep what is working while testing one adjustment. Another danger is seeking constant encouragement from other people. External support can help, but it cannot carry your daily discipline. There will be days when nobody notices your work. Nobody will praise you for studying quietly. Nobody will congratulate you for choosing not to waste an evening. Nobody may know that you handled a difficult situation with more patience than before. Those private improvements still matter because they change your behavior. Keep a private record of small wins. Write down useful actions you completed. Record problems you solved. Note moments where you responded better than you would have in the past. Record tasks you finished, despite low motivation. This is not about giving yourself empty praise. It is evidence of behavioral change. Over time, the record can show that your effort is producing more than you noticed. There is also value in accepting boring repetition. Many important skills involve doing similar actions many times. You practice the same movement. You review similar material. You write another page. You make another sales call. You prepare another meal. You follow the same evening routine. The work may not feel exciting. That does not make it unimportant. Repetition allows useful behavior to become more reliable. Be careful with novelty during these periods. A new method can feel attractive because it creates fresh energy, but novelty is not proof of effectiveness. Before changing your approach, ask what evidence shows that your current method is failing. If you have only been using it for a short period, then you may simply be impatient. Give the process enough time to produce meaningful information. Your emotional response to slow progress also matters. Frustration can create poor decisions. You may criticize yourself. You may compare yourself with someone who started earlier. You may assume that everyone else is moving faster. Notice the thought and return to the evidence. Your task is not to feel confident every day. Your task is to make the next useful decision even when confidence is low. A practical weekly review can help. Look at what you plan to do. Compare it with what you actually did. Identify the strongest behavior. Identify the main obstacle. Decide what needs adjustment. Then choose the next week's minimum standard. Keep the review factual. Do not turn it into a long emotional judgment about your worth. You are studying a process and improving it. There is a quiet strength in continuing useful behavior without needing immediate proof. It means you have learned to value the action itself as part of the result. You study because learning matters. You exercise because your body needs care. You practice because skill requires repetition. You complete important work because reliability matters. Visible results are important, but they are not the only evidence that your effort has value. Give slow progress enough time to become visible. Keep records. Use sensible measurements. Protect minimum standards. Study plateaus instead of fearing them. Make small adjustments instead of abandoning everything. Compare yourself with your earlier behavior rather than someone else's current position. Your focus becomes stronger when you stop demanding immediate evidence from every action. There will be days when progress feels almost invisible. Continue the useful behavior. There will be weeks when the result looks smaller than expected. Review the process. There will be periods when another person appears far ahead. Return to your own responsibilities. You do not need to make every day impressive. You need to make enough good decisions repeatedly that your life begins to reflect them. Keep working with patience and accuracy, and let the evidence of your behavior build over time. The biggest change you can make is not adding more hours to your day. It is deciding what deserves those hours. You have learned that focus is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about choosing what matters and giving it your best attention. It means finishing important work before chasing something new. It means saying no to distractions that quietly consume your energy. It means checking your habits honestly and making better choices when your attention starts moving in the wrong direction. Do not wait for the perfect day to practice this. Tomorrow morning, choose one important task before the noise begins. Give it your full attention. Put your phone away. Remove what does not matter. Finish that task before giving your energy to something less important. Then do it again the next day. Your results will not change because you listen to one audiobook. They will change because you start applying what you learned when nobody is watching. And remember this: you do not need more time to change your life. You need to become more careful with the time and attention you already have. Come back whenever you feel distracted or overwhelmed. Listen again. Choose your priority again. Start again. Your next focused day can begin today.